Okay, should be going live any second now. Make sure my hair is good. I think we're just about there. I don't know if we are live or not. We probably are by now. So let's kick it. Yep, it says we are. So hey everybody, it's the Yay or No Way show with Randy and Kim coming to you live from our half water soaked basement in Nottingham. That's a whole nother story. But
We need one of those filters with the goggle. Or
yeah, and the snorkel and the fins and everything. So we just recently had a sump pump backup here, and you do not want to have that problem. And if you do, call the pros immediately to get the fans, dehumidifiers, all the noisy equipment in here and everything.
We have like 90 fans in the office right now. It's pretty
Yeah,
impressive.
but we turned 89 of them off so you could hear us. Today we have a special guest. I've known Jeff Richards from First Home Mortgage for more than half of my life now. Well, it's scary. So I'm going to let him say a little bit about himself, and then we're going to get started on some tough mortgage questions for him.
Thanks, Randy. How you doing today?
Good. How are you doing?
Good, good. Thanks for having me on your show. I appreciate it. My name is Jeff Richards, and I'm a friend and colleague and business partner of Randy. Known him for years. I work at First Home Mortgage, and I've been in the mortgage business for about 15 years. So, and I also have a passion for real estate. I'm also an active investor and mortgage lender for a profession.
Yep, and you just had an anniversary at First Home Mortgage. What year? How many years is it now?
Yeah, this year was 7 years at First Home Mortgage. I've been in the mortgage business for 15 years, so showing my age.
Cool. All right, so we're going to get right in with some questions. So we've seen a lot of changes from our end in the market, and I was just wondering, how are you seeing the changes in the market? What are you seeing? Like, what should we be looking for? What do you see that maybe we don't see?
Yeah, we've talked a little offline, and I think we both noticed the same thing. What I've witnessed is a slight transition from the seller's market to a buyer's market, which is, in my opinion, it's a good thing for the real estate market. A year ago, I have a lot of active, eager buyers, and there was just, there's an inventory problem, not enough houses to choose from. So now I see, and houses were getting bid up, and buyers were getting frustrated. But I've seen over the past few months, with the interest rates going up a little bit, everything's slowing down a little bit, which again, in my opinion, is good because the buyers who are looking have a little more leverage and they don't have to get in some crazy bidding war.
Great feedback. And so what do you project what the real estate market's going to look like, let's say, over the next 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, I think the real estate market is it's stabilizing. Like I said, the pace of the sales are slowing down a little bit, and I think that's due to, a little bit of the problems that I said, rising interest rates, and also a little bit of, little bit of an inventory shortage. So I think it's a good, stable market. I'm glad, it's the rate of appreciation, I think, from what they're saying, is slowing down a little bit, which isn't a bad thing because we want continued growth in real estate in the market, but not unsustainable growth. So I think the national average was about 6% over the past year, and they're projecting it to be a little bit less than that. But if you crunch the numbers, that's pretty solid numbers, and it's good to be a homeowner, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Definitely. All right, so now for the $64,000 question. We struggle with this all the time when trying to explain it to people, and I'm just wondering, from the lender professional perspective, what are the main differences that you see between FHA and conventional financing? And as a follow-up question for that, what's kind of like your ratio is like, who do you see using FHA versus conventional? Is it mainly FHA now? Is it more conventional? Like, give us, first, let's start with like what you think the differences are, what people should know, and then what is it that people are really doing?
That's a good question, Randy. The FHA loan is a government backed loan, and it offers low down payment and more liberal underwriting criteria. So it's really helpful for entry level home buyers due to the low down payment and then a little bit more liberal underwriting. It's conventional loans are good too, but they're a little tougher on the underwriting standards and and they require not all of them, but sometimes they require a little bit more down payment. There are some low down payment conventional loans too. One misnomer is, a lot of people think FHA loans are for first-time home buyers, and that they're not. You've had an FHA loan in the past, yeah, you can get another one. So that's a misconception that a lot of people think.
Great. And to follow up on that misconception, because I know Randy and I hear lots of amazing stories and just kind of like untruths, I guess, about different types of financing. What are some of the things that you hear, like common misconceptions that people bring to you when they come to talk to you about getting a mortgage?
Especially pertaining to FHA, there's a lot of agents believe that FHA appraisers are definitely a little bit harder on the property, but in my opinion, it's not so bad because it used to be years ago. It used to be even tougher, but they've loosened up nowadays. So sometimes there's a stigma against a seller accepting an FHA contract because they think the appraiser is going to be really picky about the home, which there is a little bit of merit to that, but I think it's overblown. And I tell the listing agents, look, it's the same appraiser. There's a couple more boxes they have to check, but it's not. They're very reasonable. So and also FHA loans are like I can't remember my train of thought now, but
We were just talking about like misconceptions, like what are some of the things that people come in saying that are just dead wrong? Like I'll give you an example, and you touched on it a second ago. I've got a lovely young lady, she's I think in her early 60s, who's looking to buy a home soon, and she was asking me what her choices were because she already used FHA. And I said, well, you can use FHA again. I said, as long as you don't have an FHA loan right now, you can still use it, right?
You can even have an FHA loan now, but there's a mileage restriction. You can't have two FHA loans in the same market within, I think it's 90 or 100 miles. So that, that is one misperception. But it's, from a lender's perspective, it's a pretty clear line because I've run this scenario all the time. If somebody doesn't have a 720 credit score and they're putting lower down payment, less 5% or less down, it's a clear cut case for an FHA loan. The other thing that people don't like about FHA loans is it has mortgage insurance. There's both a monthly component of the mortgage insurance and an upfront component that's rolled into the loan, which a year or two ago they changed it and it sticks with the buyer for the life of the loan. But I always tell people, look, this is a stepping stone. This helps you get into the house. FHA loans do not have prepayment penalties. I always kind of monitor my clients' situations and watch for an opportunity to refinance out of an FHA loan. Again, the biggest benefit of the FHA loan is, allows people to stretch a little further. A house, it's a lot easier to qualify a borrower. They could qualify for more of a house with an FHA loan than they can for a conventional loan, in theory. And they can have a little bit of, dinged up credit and still get through with an FHA loan. So I tell people it's a two-step process. Let's focus on getting you a nice house, getting you in the house, and then, eventually, usually about a year or two later, they can usually have enough equity and build the credit up where they can refinance back into a conventional loan.
Gotcha. Just out of curiosity, off on a tangent here, what are rates currently running at? Just so people have an idea of like what range we're looking at.
Yeah, rates right now for a 30-year fixed, really with the 0 points, they're around 5%. and, even the low 5% range. That's another benefit of FHA loans. FHA loans, believe it or not, their rates are a little bit lower than conventional loans now, which is nice.
So if you had someone who said, "Oh, I missed the 4% rate, I'm just going to wait it out," what would you tell that person?
That's not too smart of a strategy because I think we're in a rising interest rate environment, and the sooner they get in, the better. I mean, I always tell people interest rates go in cycles. There's not just shooting straight up, but there's always refinance opportunities that they seem to go up and they'll come back down for a while. I mean, again, all my clients, every purchase or every refinance I've ever done is in my database, and I monitor that for their clients. So I'm always reaching out to my customers for refinance opportunities.
That's very good that you do that. It's great to keep track of that. I hadn't even thought about it. Of course, that doesn't apply to us, but we should probably keep track and every 7 years call them. We're like, it's time to move.
It's time to move.
It's time to go. Start
Really
packing.
appreciate it. They, I have to check in on anniversary dates, and they,
Yeah.
they appreciate hearing from their, real estate professionals.
Yep.
So I get this question a lot from my clients, and I don't
And they're
even
usually very mad when they ask it.
Yes. So tell everybody what the duties and the role is of the underwriter for when you're in your mortgage process, because I get asked this question a lot, like, who is this person and why are they making things so hard for me?
Yeah, that's a great question. The underwriter is basically an employee of the lender who makes the decision whether that loan gets funded or not. They're sort of the last stop for the lender, making sure that the loan file meets all the guidelines. So it's a very important job, and it's nice in a company like I work in now, where it's a smaller company, not a big bank, where I have access to my underwriters. So if there's always loans with gray areas where, I might have an opinion whether the loan is a good loan or approvable loan or not, but I'm not the final decision maker. So on those kind of loans, it's nice to be able to communicate with an underwriter, present them with the situation, and get a quick decision, which, having access to the underwriter is key. So they're a paid employee of the lender that, makes the decision on granting the funds or not for the loan.
Gatekeeper.
Yep.
Gotcha. So in anticipation of this, what would you say to someone who is, watching this and thinking about getting a loan in the near future? What would you say that they can do about their finances, or any advice that you would give for someone who is getting their financial house in order, who will one day be talking to you and talking to eventually your underwriter? What are things that they can put in place now to make life easier for them?
Yeah, I think the best advice, and you guys know this, is to plan ahead. Get your ducks in a row early. I always tell people you're going to have to do this heavy lifting, so do it now, do it up front. And so my advice would be reach out to a reputable lender who really knows what they're doing, even if you don't think you're going to buy maybe till the spring. And the reason you want to do that is because you can check everything. Let them do a full pre-approval, not just a pre-qualify. And the reason you want to do that is because there's a lot of little rules and a lot of little catches that that you can catch up front. So if someone comes to me now planning to buy in the spring, and I see something that's not quite right on their credit report, or something they weren't even aware of, at least we have the time to fix it over the next couple of months. If you come to a lender last minute, you lose that advantage of planning ahead. And the second part of that is, really sitting down with the lender and getting comfortable with the payment for a certain price range. So that I've seen this time and time again, people get all excited and they go out with their realtors and they fall in love with the house, and they may even be very well qualified for the house, but the problem is they're not comfortable with the payment. Then they get all frustrated, and they feel down, and they're usually upset at the realtor, and it's something that can be easily avoided. So that's one thing in my pre-approval process. I ask people, okay, I'm going to let you know what you're pre-approved for, but the more important thing is, what are you comfortable paying every month on a budget. And it's amazing how a lot of people haven't thought that through.
Yeah, I mean, we get both extremes there. I get some people that say, I only want to buy a $200,000 house. I'm like, what does that mean, $200,000 house? Do you know what that means? And they're like, no, I don't know what that means. At least, they're being honest with us. I'm like, well, then you need to talk with your lender about what $200,000 translates to, because it's different than it was a year ago when maybe they started looking. So we get a lot of confused people in here. I think the one takeaway from what you just said is start early. Definitely start early. I can't tell you how many people we talk with. They're like, well, I'm not ready yet. We know you're not ready yet. Let's figure out how not ready you are. Nobody's ready unless they are under contract.
Right.
Then you better be ready.
No,
So,
and I can't tell you how many people said they're not ready, they're waiting for spring. And like mid-December, I get a frantic phone call that they found the house that they loved, and then they fall into that trap. I say, look, when I do a pre-approval, it's good for 4 months, 120 days. That gives you plenty of time, and then you've done all the work. And then even if I tell people if they've been found a house in 4 months, all I have to do is refresh the credit report, maybe get a few updated docs, and they're ready. Because the wintertime when it's slower, there are less buyers. A lot of times you can find a better deal in those months. But the key is, like you mentioned, be ready with all your paperwork.
yeah, I kind of see it like going to the World Series, but you haven't played any games all season. You haven't practiced, and you go to the World Series and you're expecting to win, and you're not going to win because you haven't done any preparation for it. These guys train all year long for this thing, and housing is a lot like that too. It doesn't maybe take a year, but you do need to prep, you do need to plan ahead. Our best clients, like you're saying, are the ones that contact us 6 months before they're actually looking to move. We're like, God bless you. This is going to be awesome. It's going to be a pleasant experience for all of us.
It's all about expectations, knowing what they're comfortable paying, the cash that's going to be required for the transaction, everything. When people have planned ahead for that, it just makes the whole process much easier and more enjoyable. And I also tell people, when people have their house in the market, sellers want to sell. So if you're done your due diligence and you're ready to go, we can close in 2 weeks. And when you have that kind of leverage, sometimes you can get better pricing if you've done all the heavy lifting up front. I always tell people you're gonna have to do all this at some point. So let's do it up front. So when you're going around getting a house and planning the move, you don't have to all the heavy lifting's done.
Right. Because if everything doesn't line up exactly perfect and you run into our office looking for that house on 123 Mockingbird Lane, chances are it's going to go to somebody else if it's gorgeous because they were ready and you were not. So to quote Jerry Maguire, help me help you. Well, definitely. So we're going to post all of Jeff's contact information on the Facebook post as well. We invite you to give him a call. He likes to get calls around midnight, 2 a.m. in the morning. Just kidding. But Jeff works, I know, tons, weird hours as well, but contact him via email or through his website or through phone or anything if you have specific lender questions. Sorry for all the noise that was happening in the background. I think they're doing demolition outside of our building.
I think they might be building us a new office.
Or maybe a building next door, 5 feet away from this one. It's been insane. We've been listening to it. Like, we have a block window right in front of us, but we can't see out of it.
We're going to go run out there and check out what's going on.
Seeing what's going on. But we hope everybody has a great day. We want to thank Jeff especially for joining us. And if you guys have any questions, put them in the comments, and we will definitely get back with everybody. And we hope everybody has a great day.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Randy and Kim. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye. Love you guys.